And what is text coordinate 0? Text coordinate 0 is going to be, like if this is mapped around the sphere, text coordinate 0 is like this is, maybe I've got this the wrong way. If this is projected onto a sphere, then we've got a nice, text coordinate 0 is something that's nicely spanned around the entire thing, versus text coordinate 1, which is actually the opposite. Like, this is the sphere unwrapped, right? So if this was stretched around a sphere, it wouldn't look like this. I'm not sure. Like, if these are the vertices in each row is a thing around it. God, I don't know how they mapped it, so it's hard to visualize. Maybe there's multiple. Alright, so those are all of our vertices. The vertex colors are all white. So it's this inward facing sphere. How do I know which UV that is, though? It's just because if we wanted to replicate this sphere, or if we wanted to replicate it and then add information, how would we do that? And I think we've got enough. So like texture coordinate 1, I think is it nicely mapped around, and texture coordinate 0 is, I'm gonna have to mess with it to find out what it actually is. Alright, so this is just a cube map lookup in there into that. Alright, so what we want to figure out is how that the sun is being applied here. So we'll do that next. We solved the mystery of what texture coordinate 1 is. It's an actual thing that's mapped properly for us. So let's make the sun. In this case, it's not really going to be the sun. So for their sun, they take the light direction and dot it with the camera vector. Alright, so the sun direction, let's see. We want the sun direction to be coming from straight out, just to start with, so we know where it is. Straight out, I believe, is positive x, so it's going to be, the direction is going to be -1 and 0 on everything else. So it'll be -1, 0, 0, and the a will just have 0. Okay, so we'll normalize the vector input because who knows why. And we dot that with the camera vector. If we dot that with the camera vector, so the best thing here is the dot product is like the scalar projection of one onto the other. So basically it's like the length of this thing, like projected onto it. So basically as this camera vector looks towards the, like if we have our camera vector and we have our light direction, as we look toward the light, the projection gets longer, because like if we're looking completely tangent to this thing, right, like we were looking away from our light, or yeah, if we were looking away from our light, we would have like a negative projection length, and if we were looking toward the light at all, like that distance gets longer. So basically, because we dot these two together, the dot product is going to be biggest when we are looking straight at it, and it's going to fall off radially as we look away. So that's what this dot product is going to do. So I can just comment that. Alright, and then what we're doing here is we're making a sphere mask based on that. What the hell is a sphere mask? Alright, so this thing is basically a sphere mask, and the definition of a sphere mask is a sphere mask expression outputs a mask based on a distance calculation. If one input is the position and the other input is the center of a sphere, the mask value is 0 outside and 1 inside. This works on 1, 2, 3, and 4 component vectors. So this sphere mask of 1 so these are both normalized vectors, so if we dot them together, let's think. The first one, sphere mask, is something like that. So the sphere mask, basically, the definition is outputs mask based on a distance calculation. It's going to take the distance, and it works for 1, 2, and 3 point component vectors. So this is going to be the distance between the dot product and 1. Okay, so basically it's saying the dot product is going to be between 0 and 1 or whatever. It's going to subtract the dot product from 1. And if the distance... Alright, I guess it's just going to take the distance from 1. If it was 1, that means it's right straight looking at it. So it's going to be like... We're basically just going to say if this thing is greater than... the difference there is less than 0.01, then this is going to mask our thing. So that's how that works. And basically we have this sun brightness multiplied by... We have our color multiplied by our brightness, and then we multiply that by the sphere mask. And the sphere mask is going to output 0 or 1. So let's just change this guy to white. So we're going to apply our sphere mask here. So this should basically give us a big color when we're looking straight into the light source. And what do? They multiply that by the sky. They add that to the sky color, and that lerps with some other bullshit and gets multiplied in there with an overall color. So I think that actually does the entire sun. So what we want to do is add... Can we add another pin here? Alright, so now we've got a white thing in the background. And we can change the radius of this thing right here. Right, so there it is. So that's how we make a circle there. And for us to, we could apply a texture to this thing, actually, if we wanted to. Like, if we had a moon or something, we could actually put a texture on it, but we'd have to calculate the texture coordinates based on the sphere, and then mask it or something, because this thing is just a sphere mask. So, like, we could have the stars only appear in a specific spot or something, but anything like that, and, we can amp up the sun intensity. Is something incredibly ridiculous. And it goes behind the mountain. Yes. But that's not really what we want. What we want is we want an actual moon or whatever, right? And this is not the real way to do that. Alright, well, I'll be right back, and then we'll figure out how we can get maybe some texture coordinates on that thing. Alright, so basically what's going on, if we were going to texture this, like, we need a moon, right? So why don't we draw the best moon of all time? Of all time! So we're going to make a 512 by 512 texture of the moon. So let's go for it. I am really good at texturing things. It's going to be amazing. So here we go. Where's the damn spray can? I need the spray can. Alright, so we're going to have like some sections like this. And like some more like that. Maybe we should pull up a picture of the moon for reference. There we go, that's what we're trying to make. Alright, so we got like some shit over here. It's like this. And some more stuff. Oh, whoops. Got some more moon stuff over here. And we got some of this. And some of that. Nope, can't do that. There we go. We got like some crater stuff coming off. So we'll go ahead and fill all that in. Oh shit, we screwed up our moon. We gotta fix that part right in there. Just like that. Yeah, that's how we do it. Alright, so we got that moon going on. We're gonna need more custom colors because it's all about the custom colors. So yeah. We need like maybe a darker gray now. Go over here. And like a little bit of dark gray over here. And then we're going to even more crazy shenanigans. Just like that, fold that in. And we're also going to then write in boldface on the moon that it is the moon itself, in case somebody gets confused. And we are going to save that. Let's see, where are we saving that? We are saving that over in our import folder. So let's do so. Let's see, we're going to call this one Final Moon. It needs to be the most HD of HD. Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt that we have a moon, yes. That is what we've got going on here. So let's import that. And let's make sure that it's imported properly. Yeah, we got the moon. Alright. Let's make sure we save that. I don't want to lose that work. That would be crushing. Alright. Let's get our texture sample. Alright, it even picked up the final moon right there. That's what we want. Alright, let's try snagging this texture coordinate 1 right in here. And what we want to do is we want to do a multiply right in here. Do we have reroutes? They have reroute nodes here. That's freaking awesome. Thank you, reroute nodes, for making our lives easier. The best reroute nodes of all time. And let's make sure we've got this color on the moon. Like, supposedly it's got, we want the alpha. We definitely want the alpha. Yes, there's our moon. Yeah, go moon. It looks like total trash, doesn't it? So pretty much what we need to do is we need to map this space here between like 0 and 1, right? In order to actually do that. So how the hell do we do that? Basically, we need to compute our texture coordinates based off of our vector. Tile moon, yeah. Let's see. Let's just do sky sphere, texture, sun. Moon texture in sky sphere. Alright. Let's see what they've got going on here. Hello, is it possible to add a moon on the sky sphere? I could do just this by adding a separate mesh in the sky that is just a simple plane map with 0 to 1 in the moon phase to its extents. This would just need to set a light vector for the moon. This can be normalized. Just normalize the vector multiplied by the light of the radius. Then you set rotation using make rotation z. I like how people are like, can you give me an example for this? And he's just like, no, fuck you. It's just a plain mesh. It's like, I mean, the obvious thing here, like, I understand what the staff developer guy is saying, which is like, you know, like, I can't just do everything for you. But at the same time, these are customers that are asking for, like, that the Skysphere has a nighttime in it. Like, it already has stars. So these are obviously customers just being like, I don't really know how to do that. Just could you please fucking add this to the Skysphere? Could you just put a moon in there? So Like, this was always one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way when I was working as an engineer, is that, people would come to you with problems, and a lot of engineers will just like wave it off, just like, go to hell. And my team, I always was like, no, somebody came to us with a problem. We're going to see if we can help them. That's kind of our job. And you actively have to fight that. So this was just somebody adding like a thing onto the sphere. Yeah, they really want. Yeah, that's really what they want. Is like, please just make it so if this thing dips below the horizon that it's fucking nighttime. Like it seems pretty clear like what people want, which is like, hey, can I make Skyrim and have like the time of day? And you'd think that would be just kind of a thing that worked. And yeah, that looks like crap. It's because it's not as simple as what this guy is saying either. Like, you can put a mesh in there, but that's not what you want, because this is a sphere blown up to 400 times. Like, if you throw a mesh of the moon up there, like, blah, that's kind of what you want, but you don't really need that. I just want to stamp it on the geometry, and I don't need an extra mesh. Like, that's kind of the other problem, is you don't need a mesh on this thing. Unless you had, like, arbitrarily sized objects or whatever. So what we need to do is go from we need to go from 0 to 1 and 0 to 1 and 0 to 1 on our texture coordinates. So our x coordinate, let's see, it's going to be, if this is our camera looking at our point, and our dot product is going to be like this distance right here. What we want to do is we want to go from here to here. This is going to go from 0 to 1, and from 0 to 1. So this will be like our u coordinate, this will be our v. And the information we have is we have the camera vector. Do we have the world space here? We've got the light direction. Like, we don't have this position, we have the dot normal thing right now. Let's see if somebody else already has all this stuff. Because I want to do this without adding a mesh if I can possibly do so. Because I'd really just like to be able to stamp a thing onto this. Let's see what else we've got in this. We've got like the absolute world position, the object position, object radius. Let's see what the absolute world position. So I guess the absolute world position is the position of the pixel. Like, I'm trying to look up the definition of this thing. The world position expression outputs the position of the current pixel in world space. To visualize, simply plug in the output into a missive. Common usage to find the radial distance from the camera to a pixel, as opposed to the orthogonal distance from pixel. World position is also used for texture coordinates of unrelated meshes using texture coordinates. Alright, so we have the absolute world position of the pixel, which is going to be this position. Now, if we had this position, we could then break down by components, right? Because what we would have is like the light direction rotated by a certain angle or something. Like we could basically take the, assuming the moon is always a square, this would be our absolute world position, and we could compute this position over here. We could subtract them or something like that. So, I mean, it would basically be the object position, and then we would add the object. Yeah, it would be like we'd want to multiply the light direction the inverse of the light direction by the object radius. Alright, so we do a -1, then we do a multiply here. So if we added the object position like this, we would then get the position of the actual thing, and the absolute world position would be in the pixel coordinate. And we could get like the XY, but that's not really what we want. We want Hello Neil, FSQ. I'm just working on what I'd like to do is get the texture coordinates of the object here mapped on here properly for like a moon texture on our sky. And right now I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly how to do that. And figuring out what information I also have, right? Like, what I've got right now is I have the position where the camera is, I've got the position of the object, I've got the position of the center of the what the texture would be, I have the position of the pixel in world space. Now I need to figure out the UV, so I mean, the thing is here is the U could be like, we could dot like the position of the object minus the, we could get a vector up, we could get this vector right here. I know that's hard to see, but it's basically this vector, which is the vector to the pixel, and then this vector is the vector to the center of the thing, and if we dotted those, we would get like this distance right here. And that would be positive or negative. So we could actually subtract. We could take the absolute world position. We could take the object position. And we could do a, like, subtract, you know, get, what are we dotting here? The camera vector? If we normalize this vector and dot it with the camera vector, that could give us our Alright, let's make float 2. Alright. So what is this value? Nothing? What type of game is this? This is going to be Dashkin, which is a kind of a high-speed platformer thing. Right now we're messing around with stuff. We're trying to basically take this concept shot and make it in Unreal, and also explore the limitations of what we can do with all the different things in Unreal. So this is not really representative of gameplay. We're just kind of experimenting with graphics, and I've only been messing around with the Unreal graphics stuff for like the last week, so I don't really know what the hell I'm doing. But everyone can watch me struggle and have fun watching me have not fun. So this is going to be the vector towards this. Maybe we need to take that other vector. We need to take the vector away from it. And this will grab us our... No. No. It was definitely going to be the vector away. And these two dotted together, we know for the fact that the light direction vector that it's going to be basically 0.0, it's going to be less than 0.001. So it's a very small texture. It's a very small difference here with the dot product. So it's going to go from 0 to 1 already right now. You really love the ambience of the game? Well, or hopefully it'll be much better than what we're working on now. And other people are much better at this vector math stuff than I am. I am just very much out of practice. Me in college would kick my ass right now, because I knew a lot more of this vector math stuff in college. I'd be like, oh, well, it's just easily the sine of this and the cosine of this multiplied by this other thing, and we're finished. But that was like 8 years ago or something, so I have forgotten all of my vector math shenaniganry. And should I be dotting this with the camera vector, or should I be dotting this with the light direction? I mean, that's just the U. The V is gonna be, gosh. No, it's not gonna be the U or the V. It's only gonna be that. It's gonna be, I guess we multiply the radius here and we subtract by. Let's think about this. The problem that we have right now is that I need to find the U and the V based on it's a different basis. It's basically like the basis is rotated by our actual object, so I'm trying to figure out which which direction we need to go. So it's like the direction that this thing needs to basically map our U and V onto is, it's based off of the sun direction mapped onto the sphere. So it's like out here, and we're taking the world. It's basically the location of the sun, the absolute position of the pixel, minus the location of the sun. But then this distance is in a basis, which is different than, it's not world space, it's tangent space or something like that of the location, and the tangent is negative light direction or something. It's been a long time since I messed around with those basis transformations. Let's see if somebody's already done the math and I can just figure it out real quick. I know I saw it earlier today. And let's see what this guy did. UV zone sky sphere. Have you an art station? Oh, I am not the artist for this game. The artist for this game is Adam Phillips. And if you have not ever heard of the game, I can go ahead and link you to it. The artist is Adam Phillips. You might know him from the Mighty of Brackenwood series on Newgrounds and online. And he's got his own channel. I don't think he's streaming it right now or anything like that. He's not even up since he's in Australia. Alright, figures out the idea was quite simple. First I split the text coordinate objects into x and y, then treating each separately I added a multiplier, followed by an addition, adding yeah, he's probably not up. Yeah, this guy looks like he just screwed around with it and didn't actually get anything. Like he split the text coordinate into x and y components, then treating each separately, added a multiplier, followed by an addition, adding values translates the texture. After that I combine the results together and clamp between 0 and 1, feeding this vector. Oh, okay, so he just, like, he basically just moved the x and y around on this thing until it was in the right spot. and then went from 0 to 1 into the correct position. Well, I mean, that's not a bad idea, right? So, like, if on my drawing, like, I basically just clamped this thing, and I want, if I got the upper left-hand corner of this thing, right, then I could just have that be 0, and then just, like, add, you know, and this is the mesh coming around. If I have this corner and the mesh comes around and, you know, just like, I just clamp it from 0 to 1. And the outside of my texture is transparent, then it'll be transparent everywhere. I basically just need to find the starting point, and then I need to translate between 0 and 1, which is pretty simple probably. So if the starting point would be, basically you take the like, I've got both these 2 points, like, don't I? Like, this is, I've got this location over here. Like, I don't really care that this thing actually smashes onto an actual sphere. Your art station? Well, if you post a link, one of the mods might look at it for you, then approve it. I'm sure they are interested to see what your art station looks like. You already follow Adam? Yeah, figures. That's probably how you found me. So what thing is this? Because we know the position, and we can take the difference in the position or something like that. It's going to be a dot product in here. Like, it's going to be basically, we have these 2 positions here. We have this vector,